I say it that way not to separate myself, but because that's how I was brought in. My name's not as important. My identification as an addict is. In fact, I remember going to a convention some years ago where somebody was doing this whole service program, and he said, hi, I'm an addict, and my name is unimportant. And the whole room said, hi, unimportant, because we're just so programmed to these different things that you go through. I wanted to read the NA service prayer because it's something that I do in a committee that I'm involved with. Of course, I'm playing with hokey Wi-Fi up here, so.
Right.
Nothing up here.
Yeah, and the version that I got here is not the one that I'm used to, so it's just weird how it goes through. But I'm just going to skip it right now. There's an NA service prayer which basically asks us for the serenity to work according to thy divine precepts. Okay, all of a sudden we're using really fancy words here. God help me to do right. Let's make this simple. God help me to do right. Not Johnny help me to do right, because Johnny is going to take things and go in a very different direction. And I want to thank, first of all, my friend Robin for sharing and reminding me some of the real basic stuff here. Because the three most detrimental things to my recovery are, I got this, and then I lose it all over again. I have to remain humble. Now, I'm going to be all over the place. What was my topic again?
Self-esteem through service.
I know, I was teasing. I can't speak for the rest of y'all, but I'm going to tell you right now, drugs tried to fill that God-sized hole in my body that I could not find. And even with the removal of drugs, I looked for external ways to make me feel good internally. And sometimes I even believed they worked for a little while. Oh, look at that, I got that nice, bright, shiny girl, whatever, And that feels pretty good. And then we're having a conversation and it's not connected really well. And it's like, maybe it might not have been as shiny as I thought. Or as bright. Or I'd go from one negative relationship to another negative relationship. Totally different person, totally different this, but I felt the same. It wasn't them. It was me. So we're taught recovery through repetition. Some of you may have gotten through those fancy little fold-ups that we've got on the side. We call them IPs, and you'll read the different things, and it works how and why, and we've got this. And way back in the day, we had something called a basic text. In fact, it started with a little white book, because it was a little white, let's keep the shit simple. I could follow that. I liked that. It's a little white book. I did come up with, and it's not an endorsement, I'm just telling you it's part of my history. I did come up with some education with our predecessors. I know we changed our tradition so that it's not read as an endorsement, but let's be real here. We stole their last name. All right, and we rewrote a lot of their literature. We made it go through whatever. And they have a very, very fancy third step in this Elizabethan, Shakespearean, God, I offer myself to thee to do with me. And ours says, take my will in my life, show me how to live clean. Okay, I can break that down, thank you. And if I follow that, I do well. We used to have these 7 suggestions, and they did 8, now it's 9. And one of them says, don't use and go to meetings. I did half of that. I'm not going to say which half, But there was a while there where I couldn't quite grasp how simple that was. Or the real basic stuff, if you don't put the drugs in your hand, you won't get high. Well, I was putting it up my nose, down my throat, in a different, because I always wanted to be that wise guy that looked for the loophole. The second step said it could restore me to sanity. Well, what if I was crazy my whole life? What the hell are you restoring, God? And I kept poking these holes. But while I did it, something happened. I became teachable. Now, I'm not speaking for anybody else. I'm saying for me. I came up in a school era where we were taught shit wrong. Christopher Columbus discovered a new world. First of all, it wasn't new. It'd been there already. He didn't discover it. He was lost. All right? We were named something because he was on the wrong side of the world. And now we're throwing out the immigrants because apparently all of us European folk that came in over here and took over the world forgot that we were the fucking immigrants. I see the insanity of things sometimes, but I have to be very, very careful that I'm not judging others based on a crooked ruler. And that's my problem. That's not anybody else's problem. I have been involved in this convention and involved in this area for quite a few years. And then a little over a year ago, through some family issues, through some job issues or whatever, I abruptly moved out of the area. And it was a shock to my system, but it was also a good thing. I had just gotten out of a really stupid relationship I was in for a while that I really shouldn't have been in anyway, so it was kind of like, I'm not saying a geographic cure is the greatest idea, but it didn't hurt. Because we knew each other in whatever recovery communities, and again, you know, I'm just owning my part of it. It was kind of good to go to a room and say, look, I'm not coming to a room. You know, look, you're going to find what you want in recovery. If you go to NA to get a job, you'll find a job. You want to find a house, you find a house. You want to find a mate, you're going to find a mate. Oh, if you want to find recovery, well, now you got to do some work. Because the rest of the stuff will just kind of find you, whether you want it or not. If you want recovery, you got to do the work. I have been a short-haired nerd for most of my life, obviously. You can see that again right now based on my second round of... My sister is a cancer survivor. I'm growing my hair out for Locks for Love. How hard is a charitable contribution? All I got to do is pay a couple extra dollars a year for shampoo. I can do this. But I don't recognize that long-haired hippie that's looking at me in the mirror sometimes, and I'm looking at it and it's like, okay, so this is different. I can change my clothes, I can change my glasses, I can change my cars. But you know what? NA has taught me to change in here. And here's the secret for you. I'm not really changing it. I'm fine-tuning what worked. Some of you may not have this experience. It was for me. I did wish to close the door on my past. I regretted, I resented, I was ashamed, I was embarrassed, I felt so horrible. I wanted to shut the door on all of it. Good, bad, or indifferent. Those years just didn't exist. I didn't want to face the fact that I was a lousy husband, that I was a lousy father, that I was a lousy child, that I was a lousy employee, that I was lousy in a lot of different things. But somewhere in the midst of that, I wasn't doing too bad. Somewhere in the midst of all of that, I was fortunate enough that I got to live another day. So we say cute things, and I say them because I mean them. I woke up on top of the grass today. Everything else is a bonus. How do I know there's a God? Simple, I'm alive. Left to my own hands, wouldn't have been. Got brought back plenty of times. Kind of mad at God sometimes when it happened. You know, I can't speak for anyone. I'm just saying we're all familiar with, if it wasn't ourselves, somebody else who was brought back by whatever kind of miraculous anti-something medication, and we weren't happy that our lives were saved. We were mad because you just robbed our high. And that's pretty insane stuff. But one day something will happen where you could have 48 hours clean, and our literature talks about that, and you reach your hand out or give a hug to somebody with 24 hours clean. And you feel better about yourself. Not because you're holier than thou, but because you're giving back what was so freely given to us. See, I was one of those assholes that used to sit in a chair and tell you, I earned this chair through my years of it. And I didn't earn a damn thing. It was given to me freely. I can't earn this. What I earned is restlessness, irritability, discontent. What I'm granted is a chance for freedom. And if I follow the words that were given to me, that any addict, not just the ones who come in on medication treatment, not just the ones who come in through the court system, not just the ones who believed it beforehand but just hadn't read it yet. Even the ones like me who confused shit. Christopher Columbus didn't discover stuff. Oh, okay, he was sent by this one. And then 4 years later, you're taught another version of it. And I'm saying, but wait a minute, didn't they used to say this? You know, is it me? Is it them? And then a few years later, it's good. I love the fact that I got two grown-up millennial children that can write in cursive, can read an analog clock, and one of them can even drive a stick shift car. Yeah, right. They're old souls, you know. But neither of them want to talk to me. Because after a particularly nasty relapse, I burnt some bridges. Now, if I want to focus on that end, my self-esteem takes a hell of a hit. And I can get caught in the woe is me. Or as our older friends used to say to pour me a drink. You know, if I want to get stuck in that, that's fine. I don't have to live in shit today. I get a choice. I can be happy, joyous, and free. I like that better than restless, irritable, and discontent. Sounds like a good trade, right? You know, happy, joyous, and free. Okay, so let me look in the mirror and realize that my face has eyes that if they're bloodshot, it's because there's feather pillows in the room, not because of the shit I did all last night. That if I'm coughing, it's allergies, not as a result of the chemicals I induced. That if I laugh, the fact that I looked so forward to seeing the main comedians last night, but we left before they got on because I was falling asleep, having had 2 hours sleep the night before and everything else. And I realized I do have limits today and I can respect them because I'm not using the chemical induction to get past all of that. I learned this by accident on my end, but by design by the program. The program gives us steps. It's a roadmap. It's right on the wall. You follow them, you get better. You don't follow them, languish. And eventually it gets frustrating. And I can't tell you how many of my friends, and I've done it too, stay clean for a really long time. You want to get clean, work 3 steps. You want to stay clean, work the other 9. Because that's when freedom comes. You get that foundation, you can do really well. So I was blessed. I got involved in service. I went to different things, not because I was a nice guy, by the way. I'll tell you, that was the exact opposite. When I came in and I wasn't privileged by the state of New Jersey to have a driving type of thing, which was good and right because I really didn't deserve it and I did a lot of stupid shit that they took it away for. And then they returned it to me. I went to meetings and I'd look for the newcomer who needed a ride because it was what was offered to me. And because I'm such a nice guy, bullshit. I did it because I was still lonely in a crowd of people. I was still uncomfortable in my own head, and if I picked up somebody who was sicker than me, then I didn't feel so bad because the soap opera of their life seemed a lot less intrusive than what was going on. So I'd pick them up and I'd go through, and then I'd smile at things like I had 2 plates on my car and they matched. The registration was legitimate, the insurance was good, and I had a job. I was not only employed, I was employable. And I don't want to say this was me. I give all the credit to my higher power. Thank God that I got all that. Oh, I'm only halfway down. That everything was going. I was able to share some gifts. Not something that I earned, but that I was given. And share those gifts like they were shared with me. It might have been some advice. It might have been some suggestions. It certainly had to do with steps. We went a lot further than this basic text and little white book. Now we have the complicated texts. And you can't complete step 1 until you get your certificate because you answered 69 questions. And you know what? Work with your sponsor and figure out what works in your past. We all have the same 12 steps, but we're wearing different shoes. All right? Take the steps according to the way it takes your steps. I love the part that in our basic text that says, the way to work, the 4th step is to ride it. It doesn't say you got to follow this guide, you got to follow this guide. Yeah, I went to XYZ rehab and we had the big fancy numbers on the book and it said grandiosity on this side and this on this side and this one. And if you don't answer it, work it. It's not going to be a perfect job. We don't get a certificate at the end of graduations. It's an ongoing process. I've done so many different steps in so many different ways. And afterwards, there is a cathartic, wonderful feeling of peace and love. Sometimes. And sometimes there's this great big feeling of discomfort and anxiety because I know there's more work to do. And I'm glad. Now I'm speaking for me. If my particular dealer with my particular brand was not available that day, I didn't not use. I happened to be the type of addict that used more than on weekends, more than every day, more than once a day. I don't happen to be the type of addict that says, I can go to a meeting once a week and I'm going to be all better. But see, the meeting isn't the program, the steps of the program, the sponsorship, the fellowship, the connection. It's like one big jigsaw puzzle. We can put the frame around, but if you want to fill in those pieces, you got to do the other things. And sometimes we get so caught up on the party, we forget the work. Oh, it feels good. Okay, but what else is going on? Am I still taking care of my responsibilities? You know what a thrill it is to like not have legal fines and other things hanging out over my head right now? Like I forget, darn, I gotta pay for this and I gotta go through this and I didn't scan the right code because Showboat's costing me more for a weekend than I would have paid for 3 days stay. Anyway. And I can get caught up in all those different things and say, wait a minute, I'll sell another earring, I'll be okay. Things are working out for me. I've got things in my life. I can share gifts that were given to me because I was open enough to do it. I have a virtual resume of service that I've done in Cape Atlantic, in statewide, in the Central Jersey area, moved into Monmouth County, and I want to be very, very delicate because I had a sponsor that reminded me, don't try to be an all-star in an anonymous fellowship. It'll just blow everything out the way. There was an old line that they used to say about a fellow that was so great in the rooms, they gave him a humility pin. And he wore the pin to the next meeting, so they took it away. Sometimes I want to be careful that I understand being humble is a respect thing. I didn't have any self-respect when I was humiliating myself and others. And I didn't understand the difference when I came here. Humiliation I was familiar with. Humility I had to learn. And I learned it sometimes the hard way. Because I'm still a stubborn son of a bitch, you know. By the way, ladies, guys are never lost. We're just looking for another way. Okay? I have a GPS now on my phone that tells me where to go so many times, and when I'm doing one appointment and I'm on my next appointment and I'm running behind, it actually starts before I've left the one appointment. It's, please turn left on this, and it's like, will you leave me alone and let me finish? It's funny how much power I've given up to that. But damn, I'm not giving the power over to the white powder or the little baggie or the this or that, and I'm not giving it over to, oh my God, I got $1, let me go get high. When I have the opportunity to share in service, it is a gift and it is a blessing. And I don't build myself up into, oh, what a good boy am I. Because I know inside of me, no, there's still a little bastard devil in there. And he rears his ugly head sometimes. And sometimes I have to find out that, like, you know, we heard our character defects served us well. My sarcastic wit, and I'm sorry she had to go because Robin brings me to tears. I've known her for a few years and everything else like that. But we can share, and you know, you have to have those people you trust and you're careful with. And I'm one of the ones that I can just vent to her, because if you don't tell her, by the way, that she was honest, you don't tell her that you're just venting, you give her an issue, she'll try to solve it. And I wasn't necessarily looking for that, I just needed to go through. I have a sarcastic wit, and sometimes I think it's amusing, and I think it's funny, and I think it's cute, and it makes people laugh, and therefore I feel good about myself. And then I looked up what sarcasm means. Shredding somebody like with a whip, but with your words. Ooh, that does not sound like something I want to do. That does not sound like something positive. In fact, it's not, it's evil. And I don't want to be evil. I love comedians who can point out regular problems in the rest of the world. You know, I was like one of the people that liked like the Gallagher type of things, or the Stephen Wright that would tell you park on a driveway and drive on a parkway and all, you know, it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, but they're not making fun of somebody or picking on somebody because of a disability or making somebody feel less than. And this is the key that got me in service and self-esteem. I don't have to be less than anymore. And it doesn't mean I have to be greater than I'm knocking somebody else down. I just have to be. And if I don't take away, by default, I'm going to feel higher. Because I do get that level. Now, Again, I thought I was pretty smart and educated. Turned out I was just bluffing and bullshitting my way through a lot of it. We say the serenity prayer a lot of times. You know how long it took me to break that down to serene and find out it just meant peace and balance? Like I thought it was this beautiful, ethereal thing, and I got to go stand on the mountaintop and feel the air, and it's like, no, just balance. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows. We're not asking for flat line, that's dead. All right, we're going to have peaks and valleys. But that freaking roller coaster, I needed to get off. I needed it to stop. I am a service junkie. I have blocked or ignored 3 phone calls since this meeting started, and I apologize because I used to be one of the guys that hated to see somebody with an iPad or a phone or anything else like that. Still have to pack up stuff, still have this. 2 other people want to meet me, it's like the convention's over. But that's their world. And what a blessing to be asked to do stuff like this. This is the 3rd meeting that Tracy's tried to hit me up for, and if I wasn't right outside the door, it probably wouldn't have been that either, but I do appreciate that. He trusted me enough to get involved in it because I've been on the opposite side where you have to reach out for somebody, and I'm going to tell you this, I don't mind giving as much as I've got. In fact, I will give you more than I've got, and that's a defect, and that's something I work on with my sponsor, because it didn't have. And I know what it feels like to not have. And I have gone to the extreme, but I don't do it too bad. Like there's this place called Demo, and I buy a lot of shoes and a bunch of other different things like that. And it's really not that much. In fact, I probably spend less than some people do on 2 pair, but I own 36. That may seem excessive. I also live in 2 different homes in the state of New Jersey, and I work different jobs where sometimes I need, steel toe footwear, and sometimes I want to wear a nicer shoe, and sometimes I want to go to the gym, and now I've justified everything in my life, but I know it's excessive. So if I keep 18 pair over there and 18 pair over there, whatever. I grew up without a lot. I had hand-me-downs that buttoned on the wrong side, if you know what I'm saying. And I didn't even realize till after college that I'd been wearing the wrong damn size shoes for so long that my feet literally started crumbling in on themselves, because I figured, my feet were probably done growing by the time I got out of high school, and I was wrong. And it took me years. Now, my kids, I would pay whatever. I spent more than a freaking paycheck to get these kids sneakers, and they weren't even athletes. But for me, I had a rough time justifying that I was worthy of having a clean, good, fair fitting pair of shoes. Now that's pretty messed up, right? Built it up. How can I help somebody else if I can't even walk from door to door? Then I went to the extreme, because that's what I tend to do. I'm a one is too many, thousand are never enough. Some of you saw my jewelry table, all right? That started out as like 2 earrings and a pair of necklaces and whatever. Got crazy. I am involved in a regional service position that is a little different than what we do here on the area level. And it's like anything else. If you get involved in politics to a certain degree, sometimes you're going to see stuff that you might not like seeing. There are things that happen on the world services level here that don't always set right with me. And we just went through the car motion, and we went through all that other stuff. And I'm going to tell you, whether I agree or disagree with it, I am going to say this was an ego boost for me. Because I realized that it bothers me because I care. I didn't used to give a shit. Whatever you did or didn't do didn't matter to me. But when you're charging more for a basic text than it is to buy 3 bags of dope, the newcomer's going to have a rough time deciding how much to spend, and whether or not they're going to get the message or they're going to go back out and get high. And that bothers me. And it bothers me because it was given to me freely, not charged by $250,000 salary for some executive to jet set across the world. And I'm sick to death about being told about the story about the 100 basic texts that we went to Africa for a $25,000 cost on the world service. That's why we got to keep raising the price of all of our literature. I'm really sick to death about being told the story about how we delivered 100 basic texts at retail price and everything else like that, and they were all written in English. Well, guess what? Nobody there knew what they were. The second largest place for Narcotics Anonymous, besides the United States right now, is under fire. And I'm worried about all the other addicts right now that don't have a place to meet. Meanwhile, I'm bitching yesterday because it's raining on the escalator, and I'm trying to figure out, 23 floors over here, how bad is that roof that it's actually dripping on me on the escalator? I didn't worry about it when my roof was a boardwalk and it leaked. But now I got so cocky and so big and so overgrown in my area. I might have been one of those people that put down the spoon and picked up the fork. So I know what it looked like when my jeans expanded really quick and everything else like that. And now I'm trying to achieve that balance in that part of my life. And I feel better about myself because I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And I'm going to end with this one. For those of you who've celebrated recently, whether it's 1 day, 1 year, decades, whatever else like that, Narcotics Anonymous, a wonderful place where we get key tags and medallions and accolades for not doing what we weren't supposed to be doing in the first place. It is a blessing to feel good and to be able to smile, not at the tragedies that we've all encountered, but the fact that we're overcoming them today. And we're no longer succumbing to the death, the despair, and everything else. We're willing to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and reach out for help when we need it. I will be more than glad to tell anybody else I'll do whatever I can for you, whether it's financial, whether it's spiritual, whether it's this. But what I won't tell you, I'm sorry, I'm going to go over a minute. That last night at 6 o'clock, I was this close to getting up and running because I found out my mother was in congestive heart failure. I don't know what to do. I've spent the last year and a half taking care of her. We've gone through hospitals. We've gone through institutions. She just got back out. Blood tests are doing good. She's got a home health date. Everything else is going great. She had some lung issues, but never the heart issue. What am I going to do? I got hours worth of stuff I got to pack. I got friends around here. I got a whole support network. I had to go outside and get some air. Come back in. I'm twisted. They said, "What's the matter?" And I'm telling them, "Nah, it was probably just the Dominoes and 3 cups of coffee that I had. I'd had no carbs and no caffeine for a while." No, I was twisted. I was stressed. My immediate thing is, if I don't up and leave right now, I'm a bad son. See, this is still where my self-esteem goes bad. I forget. I did bad things. That doesn't mean I was a bad person. I haven't learned that beat yourself up with a feather type stuff. I still grab the weapon. And there's nothing you can do to me, words, actions, that can beat me up half as bad as I've beaten myself up. I'm still pretty good at it. I've been practicing it. It's not a good thing. All right. And I'm talking to one friend, and she said, "There's nothing you can do. The doctors are looking after her. The hospital's over there. And they don't want the cardiologist to see her until tomorrow or Monday." And I'm like, wait a minute. Till tomorrow or Monday. So they think she's going to live for another day or two. My immediate thought really wasn't about my mom. Wasn't about anything else. It was that selfish son of a bitch. If I'm not there right now, I'm a bad son. So you dropped your entire life a year ago and moved up there to take care of her. And you just moved back 5-6 days ago. And you're going through, and I'm out of balance. I love these conventions. I love the comedy shows. I love that because here it is. I still like to escape, but I measure it in a balance. This year, I didn't have to do 15 service projects. Wow. It's kind of neat to go to a convention and not have to do everything. This year, I wanted to have one little break in the balance and all that. And this year I also realized I don't survive with only 2 or 3 hours sleep as well as I used to. I don't bounce back as good. I'm old. I want to get that Bath and Body Works shirt that says "Back and Body Hurts." Like, that's me. All right, I got that. I can own that. I'm aware of it. But I reached out yesterday to my network, even though they're not my home group members now, and the one's not my sponsor now, but they're still my spiritual guides, and I still love them, and they still love me, and they all surrounded me and said, "You'll be all right, Johnny. Whatever you need." And they meant it. And I realized they're not lying to me. They're not reaching into my pocket. They're not reaching into my home. They're not reaching into anything else. They're doing it because they care. And that's what they taught me. And I know I do that because I've heard Robin's story how many times, but I knew as soon as she was going to get to a certain section, I was going to well up with tears. Because I can feel things now. Good, bad, or indifferent. The fact that I can feel things, that is a self-esteem boost. Because it's not fake. I'm not crying because I breathed some really nasty shit. I'm not sick in the bathroom because of the chemical poisons that I put inside of myself. I'm living what I believe my higher power meant me to live. Good, bad, and indifferent. If you can help a newcomer by reaching out your hand, even if you don't think you're the greatest hug squad person, the fact that you got the t-shirt that made other people go through. Get out of your comfort zone every now and again in recovery and find out what works best for you. And be willing to make mistakes. It's how we learn and it's how we grow. I've made some real big doozies, some of them with a lot of years clean, by the way. And I've told some people, and I know John's heard this a few times, I think one of the issues with me was I've always had that inner asshole, but I suppressed a lot of it with drugs, and I anesthetized that side, and then I didn't have drugs anymore, and all of a sudden I'm caught on Route 30 behind the guy who thinks that's the speed limit, and it really annoys me. And why did I get so full of myself? Now, it didn't bother me when I was stoned, because I was probably sitting there waiting for the yellow light to turn green. They don't go that direction, by the way. I've had that gift. It was given to me. I didn't earn it, but I do appreciate it, and I'm still learning. I thank you for the opportunity here, and I thank you all for letting me share.
We would like now to thank the speakers for sharing their experience, strength, and hope. We now have a nice way of closing. Please join us in the Serenity Prayer.